What is up, YouTube? And today we're going to be talking about this amazing free-to-play unit that is a specialty change 3-star unit on your screen here, and that is going to be Mascot Hazel. Now, in the past, Mascot Hazel wasn't really commonly built because you didn't really need her in a lot of content, honestly. But now with the recent release of Rift, with Nightmare Mode coming out for Raid as well, she is a very, very good unit to have built in your team because she's just super powerful. She is very strong in all fire teams, as you guys can see from her skill tree here. When she has all fire elemental allies, or actually whenever she has a fire elemental ally on her team, she will give them attack buff, effectiveness buff. She'll also heal more with her S1 and her S2 if you have fire elemental unit teams. Also, you can dispel two debuffs with your S2 instead of just one. And also your S3 will give them continuous healing if you get the proc. Also, you'll see that your S3 will also give a fire elemental hero greater attack buff, which is insanely strong. Not just like a regular attack buff, but you get greater attack buff, which is, of course, just a lot better. Now, she's commonly compared to Tamarin because Tamarin is another fire soul weaver. And although I'd say Tamarin is better overall with other team comps, she's not as strong as Mascot Hazel because she does not have that greater attack buff. She has regular attack buff and she has CR push, and she also has a dual attack, but some bosses don't even allow dual attacks, and some bosses also don't need the dispel from her S1. And in that situation, Mascot Hazel is just a ton better. A good example will be the current season of Rift, where you can't activate dual attacks, so Mascot Hazel is just super powerful there because she doesn't require any time to ramp up. She can actually sustain this attack buff on your team if she's super fast, which is very nice. And also, when you actually give a ally greater attack buff on a fire elemental hero, such as like Mercedes, if Mercedes uses her S3, even though it's just a normal attack buff, it will keep its duration extended up to however much, the attack buff from that DPS unit. For example, for Mercedes 2 turns, it will be extended up to 2 turns, but it will keep its greater attack buff because it will override the regular attack buff, if that makes sense. So basically what you want to do is when your greater attack buff is at 1 turn on Mercedes or whatever damage deal you're using, you use your self attack buff, your S3 on Mercedes, also like S3 on Bomb Model Kana, or even something like an S3 on Tenebria because it now gives you attack buff as well. Mine gives greater attack buff already because of the exclusive equipment, but if you're running Tenebria with Mascot Hazel, you actually do not need to run that exclusive equipment on Tenebria, freeing her up for extra dispels on her S1. So yeah, very powerful in all fire team comps for sure. She works on auto very well as well, and her healing is pretty consistent. I'd say it's more than Tamarin overall because you're healing every other 2 turns, and you just have 2 healing abilities, whereas Tamarin only has really 1 in her S2. So it's not as great. So Mascot Hazel definitely better than Tamarin in areas of content where you're using an all-fire team, such as Golem, Rift, Earth Expedition as well, and even in Zeo. So for Zeo, if you guys are struggling to take down Zeo episode 410-10, Mascot Hazel is the unit that I actually use in my free-to-play team. So I actually use Mascot Hazel, Mercedes, Bomb Model Kana, and Adventure Ross, and that team works very well if you're just soul burning manually because yeah, they pretty much will counter the Zeo mechanic because they all have soul burns that only cost 10 souls, and because you're using an all fire team, you're getting extremely high value out of Mascot Hazel because you're just getting so many benefits, which will make her better than Tamarin in that fight. Now yes, like I said, Tamarin is better overall, right? You can't use Mascot Hazel in like Nightmare Queen, for example. Tamarin is way better there, but you can still use Mascot Hazel in some other bosses. So for example, Secretary Vera in Nightmare mode, she's very powerful there. You can use her also in some Abyss Floors if you're using all fire teams, and even Ancient Inheritance if you're running an all fire team. However, Tamarin is a more overall better unit, I'd say, because you can use her in so many expeditions, right? You can use her in so many areas of content that you probably will not be able to use Mascot Hazel in because yeah, her dual attack is still very good. But keep in mind that Mascot Hazel, because she's a 3-star unit, she does not actually require any Molagoras, and she actually requires way less catalysts to actually awaken and also skill enhance compared to Tamarin. So you can see like Tamarin will cost you a ton more Molagora, and once you get to like +6, you're going to be using 7 rare catalysts, and then on the last rank, you're going to be using 2 or 3 epics, which is a ton of resources you're putting in. But for Mascot Hazel here, even the last rank on your skills will only cost you only 4 catalysts, and you don't even need any epic catalysts, which makes her way more easier to build. And honestly, because she doesn't cost any Molagora, you definitely want to build her anyways because she's just extremely powerful in those full fire teams. Now for her build, it's pretty simple. It depends on the area of content. For example, for Rift, you want her at 200% effect resist, so I have her on 190 here with this artifact that will boost her effective resist up to 215, which is more than enough. And after that, you just want speed, you want some bulk, And if you have some attack subs, so if you have some weird Soul Weaver gear that has some attack subs on it, right? This unit is very good with it because, actually I don't have any to showcase it on, but she's very good with it because her healing will actually scale with the target's max health and also Mascot Hazel's attack. So yeah, it's kind of weird how it works. You want to build her on a little bit more attack than other Soul Weavers, but that's pretty good because there's a lot of weird pieces that can roll into attack, right? And you can use those weird pieces on Mascot Hazel and she'll use it well. Now you can completely ignore this attack scaling healing. Honestly, it doesn't really matter too much. It will boost her healing by a little bit, but not by a significant amount. But even if you have those weird pieces and you put it on her, you'll definitely see a benefit. But if you don't have those weird pieces, you don't have any attack subs, she'll work just fine as well. For artifact, it really depends on the content you're doing. So for me, because I need to get to 200% effect resist to use her in Rift, I have her on an effect resist artifact, and I have her on unfading memories because Rift is basically all AoE damage. Another good option is Touch of Rekos for Rift, but you will always see her most commonly on Rod of Amaryllis and other areas of content, and even something like Magaraha's Tome is probably one of her best artifacts, even though it's only a 4-star, because of the fact that you will actually cycle super fast and keep that greater attack buff on your 2 damage dealing units that you're usually running with Mascot Hazel. But yeah, this unit, super powerful. Definitely, I'd say because we have Rift out, because we have Nightmare Mode raid out, you definitely want to build her because you can actually use her in a lot of areas of content more than you think. Whereas before in the past, she was only really used in like Golem and also Earth Expedition, but honestly Tamarin works well in those comps as well, maybe just a little bit behind Mascot Hazel. But now with Nightmare Raid limiting the usage of a unit once per month, Mascot Hazel is very good for Secretary of Area. She's going to be the best healer by far for Rift. You can use Tamarin there, but Tamarin will make it so that your runs will take longer. You'll actually have to use 3 runs I tested with Tamarin to kill the boss, whereas with Mascot Hazel it took me 2. So that means every time you're actually farming Rift bosses, you're going to be using 20 extra energy with Tamarin, which is not good. So you might as well build your Mascot Hazel to save your energy in the long run because that will add up. And for every fire season, you'll definitely be able to use her. And even when Rift ends, you'll definitely still have value in her because of Nightmare Raid and also for Earth Expedition and Golem to actually get your teams, better. Mascot Hazel, guys, super undervalued, I think. I think most people are realizing now how powerful she is because of the fact that her S3 does give greater attack buff, and because of it, how it works, right? Like I mentioned, there's so many fire units actually that have built-in attack buffs, especially like Bomb Model Kana and Mercedes were both free to play. And when you use this S3 on both of them, it'll extend the greater attack buff, which is super nice. It'll make it so that if your Mascot Hazel is fast enough, you can keep greater attack buff on your team, which will make it so that your team will actually kill things a lot faster. And yeah, really good free-to-play team with Mascot Hazel is Adventure Ross for that defense buff and to hold Aureus, and also for the defense break. And then we also have Bomb Model Kana, a lot of AoE damage, and Mercedes, a lot of AoE damage. Both don't have debuffs, which make them very good as a damage dealer. And then we have Mascot Hazel there to heal, cleanse, and provide attack buffs and greater attack buffs. So yeah, this 4-man team can pretty much tackle any area of content that's not really ice. They're just so powerful together. So with Mascot Hazel, if you build these 4 units, you'll find yourself being able to clear a lot of content, especially harder bosses, because of how powerful all fire teams are, as long as you don't have an elemental disadvantage. So yeah, for Zio, guys, if you guys are stuck on episode 410-10, build a team around Mascot Hazel, and you'll be good to go. Thanks for watching, guys. If you guys want to see more videos like this talking about free-to-play units, make sure you guys leave a like and also subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.